Murdered by a hitman. The three men murdered by a hitman in an Essex country lane were high-ranking drug dealers, police said yesterday. One had been the target of a shooting a year ago. The dead men's criminal record was confirmed by police as the youngest victim's tearful girlfriend begged the public to help find his killer. The three were probably murdered in a double cross as part of the war among drug suppliers. All were significant players supplying the drug ecstasy to South Essex and East London, according to drugs intelligence officers. They were regarded as quite high in the distribution network. They had become a real thorn in the side of the police and their business had grown rapidly, an officer said. They were not only buying within the British underworld but also bringing in drug supplies from Holland. Patrick Tate, 37, described by detectives as a mountain of a man, had only been released from prison, where he was serving a term for armed robbery 4 weeks ago. Police believe he continued to play a part in drugs operations from his cell. Tate, who had close cropped hair, lived with his bull terrier in a bungalow near Basildon. Somebody had shot and wounded him outside his home in November 1994 when he was out on licence from a 7-year sentence for robbery and drug dealing. He said nothing to police. Tony Tucker, 38, who died with him, had been a minder for Nigel Benn, the world champion boxer. The third victim was Craig Rolfe, 26, whose girlfriend Donna Jaggers, 27, wept as she said, "I would just like anyone who was with them, who knows about what happened, to just come forward." The couple lived together for 7 years and had a 6-year-old daughter. Miss Jaggers last saw Rolfe when he went out on Wednesday. He was due back at 8 p.m, but he never returned. His body was found with those of his companions in a Range Rover parked in a lane at Retterdon, near Chelmsford. Rolfe and Tucker in the front seats each had 2 shots to the head. Tate in the back was shot twice in the head and once in the torso. Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley, leading the manhunt, said the three could have died because of a double cross. It was possible they had planned to hire a hitman to remove a rival and then died when their hired killer changed sides. The police are also looking closely at the possibility that they died in a dispute over money, drug supplies and territory. The drug world is very murky, but there could have been a power struggle among large dealers, Mr. Dibley said. Tension had been rising amongst drug suppliers in the county since Leah Betts died last month, only 4 miles from the spot where the bodies were found. Police warn of gang war after drug murders, from the 11th to the 12th, 95. Police investigating the murder of 3 drug dealers on a remote Essex farm track feared more violence could erupt as rival gangs try to move into the area. Yesterday, as further details emerged of the criminal careers of the 3 victims, Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley warned the murders could trigger a turf war. "I know that when 3 people who are involved in drug dealing are taken from the scene, somebody will try to fill the void that is created," he said. "I anticipate because of that there will be a power struggle taking place, and, potentially, there could be more violence." However, Mr. Dibley ruled out any direct connection with Leah Betts, the Essex teenager who died after buying an ecstasy tablet at a Basildon nightclub. The dead men, Craig Rolfe, 26, Patrick Tate, 37, and Tony Tucker, 38, all from the Basildon area, had all been involved in a range of crimes from petty theft to armed robbery. But recent intelligence had shown that they were moving into the drugs trade as wholesalers rather than street traders. There has been a lot of speculation that the killings are linked with the tragic death of Leah Betts. This is pure speculation. There is nothing to link these 3 with Leah's death, and this suggestion may well divert attention from the real investigation. Mr. Dibley said the men had been threatened. The drugs world is a very murky place. There has been so much publicity in recent weeks. It is clearly easy money, and it is known that there are power struggles amongst dealers. Police were unclear why the men were murdered. One theory is that they were killed by a rival gang trying to prevent them muscling in on a lucrative trade. There are no signs that any attempt was made to escape from the car. These people were more than street dealers, and it may well be that others were trying to prevent them getting into a greater position of power. An alternative police theory was that the deaths of the 3 men who worked together were linked to an unpaid debt. The police post-mortem examination results confirmed the 3 men were killed with a shotgun. 7 cartridges were found in the snow close to the car. Rolfe, who was in the driver's seat of his Range Rover, and Tucker, who was sitting alongside him, were both shot in the head. Tate, who was in the back seat, died of multiple shotgun wounds. Police are not sure whether the killer arrived in the Range Rover with his victims, and if he had an accomplice. Mr. Dibley, who said there was no evidence of a struggle in the car, said, "I suspect these shootings were carried out very quickly. There were no signs that any attempt was made to escape from the car." The post-mortem examination, which was carried out more than 24 hours after the bodies were found at the remote track at Rettendon near Chelmsford, was unable to confirm the time of death. But Mr. Dibley said Rolf failed to make a rendezvous with his girlfriend Donna Jaggers at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Yesterday, Miss Jaggers, the mother of her 6-year-old daughter, made a tearful appeal for anyone with information to come forward, or just like anyone who was with them, who knows about what happened to them, or if they saw anything, to just come forward. Hunt for triple killer goes on from the 12th of the 12th, 95. Detectives hunting the gangland killer who fired 7 shots into 3 drug barons from point-blank range have yet to make any sort of dramatic breakthrough. Inquiries are continuing and officers are following up leads from the public following massive publicity surrounding the triple murder last week. The friends and families of the 3 drug dealers, Patrick Tate of Gordon Road, Basildon, Anthony Tucker of High Road, Fobbin, and Craig Rolfe of Cowshot Avenue, Chafford 100, were laying low again yesterday. The shooting of Tate at his home in November last year, when he was out on prison on weekend release, has been connected to his murder 13 months later. On that occasion, his injuries were not life-threatening, and he was taken to Basildon Hospital. Murder Squad detectives are also considering the possibility of a link between the Rettendon murders and the October shooting of a patient at St Andrew's Hospital, Bellericay, by a man dressed as a clown. Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley and his team of 30 officers are no nearer to finding a clear motive for the killings, though they are sure the deaths are connected to some form of gangland warfare. A total of 7 shots were fired through a side window of the metallic blue Range Rover at Workhouse Lane, Rettendon, with a pump-action shotgun. Police believe the 3 men, who had previous convictions for drug offences and armed robbery, would each have been killed by the first shot to the head. Murder Squad detectives say the response to pleas for information is disappointing. They are seeking details about the Range Rover the men were executed in on a farm track in Rettendon near Wickford. The vehicle number is F424 NPE. The police would also like to interview anyone who had sightings of people acting suspiciously near the scene between late evening last Wednesday and 8 a.m. the following morning.